Hi, it can be difficult to know what to talk about before you get married. It's also hard to know how much of this stuff needs to be worked out before you say I do, and how much just kind of is going to have to naturally work itself out. I would say there is a definite line, and there is and are things that you really want to talk about and know before you agree to marriage. Also, if you're married currently and you're struggling in communicating and finding a way to talk to each other, here are some great prompts that can really help you get the ball rolling on your conversation. And if you're about to say I do or thinking of getting married, these are great questions to have with the other person, with your partner, before you decide if you're going to say I do. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can prevent it, deal with it, overcome it, and ultimately move on with your life. So if we could really decide and understand what we're agreeing to before we get married, would we still get married? I think many people would not. But the problem is we don't know what to ask. We don't know the conversations we should be having. And we just go by what other people think, or we go by what feels right. We try to go with our gut, and sometimes we're not totally sure. Sometimes we're just trusting and believing and hoping it's all going to work out. Those are not great plans for having a marriage. What we want to do instead is learn how to talk, understand what's the same, understand what's different, and see if we're willing to sign up for what is different. Sometimes there's too much difference and we're not interested, and sometimes there are ways around it. So today I'm going to give you a couple of prompts that you can talk about with your partner. And this is if you haven't said I do yet, or if you've recently been married. These are great questions to work through and resolve instead of, I don't know if you've ever experienced where it almost feels like we're just having like this problem, but we don't really know what this problem is. And every time we try to talk about it, it just makes a bigger mess, and then we feel defeated, and then more space gets between us. So instead of doing that, we can have some prompts, try to have these conversations with each other. If you cannot resolve the difference, and if you can't find a way to talk through difference, then I recommend you find a professional in your area and seek help through counseling, even before you get married, especially if you can't talk about any difference at all. I wouldn't just get married and think that is going to work itself out. So today, everything comes from my book, Do I? You can find it on Amazon. I'm going to give you some prompts that are found on page 40. So here are a couple of questions that you would ask and answer with each other. And if you ever feel like I'm not ready to answer that, then you can always skip it. I will say, if you're thinking of getting married and you're skipping the majority of the questions, or your partner is, that's not enough information for you to say I do. You really need to have as much information as you feel you need to be able to commit to something like marriage. So if someone's not willing to give you the information, or if you're not willing to give it, then you may not be ready for marriage, or maybe this isn't your person. So that kind of always needs to be on the table, rather than trying to force each other to get on the same page, or trying to force it so that it looks the same so that you can get married. You're much better just to try and see what it is that's on the table that you're actually committing to and signing up for. Okay, so here's the first one. This is in regards to expectations for marriage when it comes to roles. So this idea of roles in the home. So this specific person is responsible for these things, and this is my expectation. And I'm this person, therefore I'm responsible for these things, and this is what I'm expecting. So a lot of times it's not that our expectations are wrong or that we're not allowed to have expectations, because you're going to have expectations. It's better to understand what you're expecting and what your partner's expecting, and is there a compromise in there for you? So here's one of the prompts. Let's see. So do both work and provide an income, or is one going to stay home and take care of the house and or kids if you're planning to have kids while the other works? So what are you expecting? So let's say that I'm planning to be a wife and I expect to have children, and I expect that when the children come, I'm going to stay home with them. That is something that is a pretty big deal to me if this is what I'm expecting. And whether someone believes that's right or wrong, if that's what I'm expecting, I really want to verbalize that and vocalize it with my partner so that they're aware this is what I'm expecting. And then I want to ask, what do you think about that? They may say, no, we need two incomes and I would never be okay with you just staying home. They may think that seems unfair, or they may think that it's impossible. Whatever their expectation is, remember, these are conversations you want to have and understand before you say I do, and decide, are these deal breakers? Is this too much difference? Or is this something that we can find a middle ground to? The next one, how about housework? So housework is part of living in a home. For the majority of people in the world, right? If you're going to live in a house, it has to have certain things to be functional. You have expectations around the maintenance, the cleaning, the upkeep. So who plans to do that? What does that look like? So it could be, do we do this evenly? Do we make a big list and we divide it up? Or if I'm the one staying home, am I expected to do all of it? Or are you supposed to do all the outside work and I do all the inside work? Just what is the expectation? Who gets the groceries? Because it's the expectations that can cause the problems and the miscommunication. We tend to think our expectations are right because a lot of times they are surrounded by our belief system. So when someone challenges our expectation, they're really kind of challenging your belief, which is part of your individuality or you as a character. It makes up you as a person. So if you're saying that this expectation is wrong, I'm feeling like you're telling me I'm wrong and what I believe is wrong, and that's going to be a threat, and now we're going to fight over that, rather than just trying to work on, okay, well, if this is the difference, is there a middle? And if not, what are we going to do about that? And sometimes what we do about that is not get married. So here's another one. How about expectations for holidays? What are holidays expected to look like? Now, some of these things are just going to naturally evolve in a relationship, and they may not be as important to someone else as they are to someone else. But this is why we have these conversations. We don't want to assume what's important to our partner. We want to ask them and let them tell us what's important to them, followed by allowing them to tell us what they're expecting. So this is really important that we not hinder what we share or try to dance around what we're sharing. We don't want to just infer what we're sharing. We want to be really clear. This is what I'm expecting. When I get married, this is what I would like. How about you? And then I'm going to listen to what the other person says. If you're already married, it could be, this is what I was expecting when I said I do. And the other person may be like, I had no idea. How was I supposed to know that? Or I didn't know that at all. I'm not interested in that. So where does this leave us now? What would we do now moving forward? So it's never too late to have these conversations, but in the name of preventing relational trauma, these are things we want to really clearly put out on the table and have an understanding of what we're wanting and asking and what our partner wants and asks before we say I do. Okay, so again, all of this comes from Do I. You can find it on Amazon. I will put the link in the description. Hoping all the best for you. And again, never hesitate to reach out and seek help from a professional in your area, because this is not therapy. But if you're feeling like I could never have this conversation, this would be an unsafe thing for me to even try to bring up, then I would say that is a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed, because it's not realistic to never have difficult conversations or to be able to express what it is you want and need. That's a priority in relationships. That's what makes up relationships. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.